You ready? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fabrication 101. I hope you guys are doing well in these crazy times and hanging in there and doing the best you can with the craziness that's going on. We are back out in the shop. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can see behind me the Bronco is in full disarray mode right now. I was gonna start working on these rear fenders. And because one thing leads to another in my brain, I got sidetracked into a different project. So this is my skid plate mount for and I guess skid plate and transfer case transmission mount for underneath the Bronco. It is pretty heavy. All this is quarter wall tubing. This is 1/4 inch plate on the bottom. So it's nice and solid. And so what I've decided I'm gonna do is add some provisions for the skid plate mount that goes underneath the transmission and engine while I've got it out and on the table. I'm also gonna clean it up a little bit because it's still a little rough. I'm gonna add some plate here that comes out kind of at a width and then over a little bit. I can't get too wide because my upper 3-link mount is right in this area as well. So I need to be careful that I don't get into that space. Over here I've got plenty of room. What I don't want to get is too tall because then I'll start to run into more drive shaft clearance issues. So I think I'm just going to add a piece of plate here, put some big bolts in the top of it, or nuts actually, that I can bolt through from underneath. And then we'll start working on getting the rest of that mount figured out. So let's get some plate measured out and cut, tacked into place, and we'll move on from there. right, so the skid plate is all welded up. Everything looks really nice, or at least decent. Well, fully welded all top and bottom. So now I'm going to let it cool off a little bit before I throw some paint on it. And it is ready to go back in. While that's happening, I'm going to go hunt for a little bit of the material I think I need, I think I have, to start making the parts for the skid plate. All right, welcome to the upside down. So we're under the Bronco. You can see, oh, that's loud. Here's these brackets I've been working on. This is the transfer case mount skid plate. What I want to do is take this piece of 1/4x12 that I have, put it up here so it runs underneath, up underneath the front of underneath the oil pan. And then what I plan to do is run a piece of some 1-inch round tube around it to give it some added strength. Decided to wait on the 1/4-inch plate. That's probably actually going to be one of the last things I do here. So let me show you what I've got going on right now. I went ahead and put together some 1-inch round tube to create the frame of the skid plate. And you might notice there are seams here. There's 3 of them, there. I don't have a piece of 1-inch round tube right now that's big enough to make this in one bend. I probably could have made it out of just 2 bends here with a seam in the middle, but I had a piece of material with some 90-degree bends in it already, and I felt like kind of using it up since it's been sitting around for a while. This is going to get reinforced with some 1/4-inch material underneath it, so it should be plenty strong. Plus there's a 3/4-inch sleeve in each one of these to hold it nice and solid. So in theory, it should be stronger than just the tube. Ordinarily not the ideal way to do this stuff, but I don't really feel like going and getting a piece of 1-inch tube since it would take me about an hour, 2 hours to run and grab it from my nearest tool supplier. So we're just going to go ahead and work with what we got. So the tube is tacked into place. It does look like it kind of goes uphill. It does actually go uphill just a little bit in relationship to this original skid plate here. This link is going downhill just a little bit, so it's kind of a optical delusion. It's sitting on a jack stand, but it is tacked down here. I went ahead and pushed it up. I was going to bring it down flush with the bottom of these, but I pushed it all the way up tight, and I'm going to go ahead and trim these off so that my 1/4-inch plate fits nice and tight up in there. I think that's going to be give me a little bit more clearance. Should be a little bit nicer. The other thing is I went ahead and tacked a mount up here on the inside of the frame, kind of between almost even with the front of the transmission. And I went ahead and put one on this side as well. I think putting the mount more towards the center of this is going to be better than having it way up here on the end. And I was just running into too many issues trying to figure out how to clear everything up there. Back here, there's a lot less. There's the same things have to be cleared. They just don't move as much further back because you're closer to the pivot point. So I'm still going to end up running a tube up as close to the transmission as I can, and then over to this, and then the same thing on the other side. I don't know if I'll have to bend anything. I'm going to look through my scraps from previous projects and bends, see if I've got anything I can make work without too much fuss. So. So skid plate, what do we call this? Frame, outline, whatever, is all tacked together. Fit pretty good, came out pretty easily actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all the welding done on this, and then I'm gonna work on adding a bunch of weight to it in the form of some 1/4 inch plate. Skid plate is fully burned in, fully welded. And while you guys weren't looking, I went ahead and welded these tabs up into the frame on both sides. Here's a little trick for you guys. If you're welding tabs like this, I always like to weld the inside welds first, and then I do the outside welds because more than likely it's going to pull towards the last weld that's done, and it'll open them up a little bit. If you weld it the other way around, it could end up closing it up a little bit, and you'll have to force them open a little bit to get your part back up in there. And you can see that side's welded up as well. I can't quite see that side as well as the other side, but everything looks good under here. All right, so the next task on this is going to be to figure out my hole for my drain plug, and then go ahead and put the bolt holes through the bottom of this. I am going to make them big enough to get a socket up through them. So these are what are called transfer punches, and if you can see here, there's a whole bunch of different sizes. They go from a 1/2 inch up to 1 inch, I believe, and they actually go in fairly small jumps, 64ths of an inch. So 1/2, 33/64, 17/32. So we need the 9/16. We'll pull that out, and the cool thing is they'll fit right down in the hole, and it'll give you a nice centered punch. So the skid plate is pretty much done. I got my spot for the drain plug cut out. I'm probably going to go ahead and add a little bit of weld right here just to support that corner. Maybe finish up that little bit there as well. And then I went ahead and I got these done as well. I kind of messed up here. I just grabbed basically the biggest 3/4 socket I have, which is a big impact socket, and I wanted to make sure I could fit it. So I went with an 1 3/8" hole saw, which they ran into each other, and this one actually ran off the edge a little bit. I'm not gonna mess with that anymore. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. I don't think it's gonna matter that much. There's still a ton of strength in this part. All right, skid plate is all done and in place. Bolted up pretty okay. It was a little bit of a juggling act to get it up in there. Everything fits the way it was intended to. Looks pretty good. Pretty sure I can still get the drain plug out. I may have to drop it to get that one out, but the drain plug pan will be able to stay in place next time I need to do an oil change. So overall, pretty pleased. Should offer quite a bit of protection to my engine oil pan and my transmission pan here. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Fabrication 101. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys will tune into the next episode, and where we will be tackling those rear fenders. I'm pretty sure about it. So I will see you in the next one. Until next time, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and get out there and build something.